Simon Ridgway.
Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you too, my friend, my new friend. So, I would like you, well, first of all, you're the founder, president, and CEO of Rackla.
Correct.
Before we get into it though, could you please tell me about the poker story?
The poker story.
I'd like to know about the poker story.
Okay. Well, since I was a kid, I wanted to go to Yukon Territory. I never really knew why, but it got my attention. So at some point in my life, I got over to the American continent and I'd hitchhiked my way up from Vancouver up to the Yukon Territory. And once getting there, I realized that the place was 3 times the size of England and there's 2 or 3 roads, so how the hell to get to see the place? So luckily I was sitting at a bar and the people beside me were gonna off to work the next day. They were gonna go do some work on a project called the Dublin Gulch, which actually now turns out to be Victoria Mines gold mine. The mine they have there. So I went in and started working in the bush in the Yukon Territory, cutting lines, taking claims, doing that kind of bush laboring work. Mm-hmm. And it was great work. I got to see the Yukon, I got paid well, and every winter I could drift off down to Latin America and lay on beaches and have some fun.
Spend your money. How old were you?
Spend my money. I would have been, it was 75, so I would have been like 26, 27 at that time. It was kind of the hippie days of drifting around the world.
Nice.
So I did that for some years, and then along came 80, 81, 82 when the gold market collapsed. I went back up to the Yukon as I did every spring, and there was no work. So I sat in Diamond Tooth Girders and played poker for some months. It's I think that was at that time the only casino in Canada, and it was an old gold rush casino that was kept alive for that reason. So I sat at a poker table for 2 or 3 months, and then by August, my old boss came to me and said, I've got some work finally. And I said, no, I've got a new job. Thank you very much.
Playing
poker. I was doing pretty well at the table.
Was it like Texas Hold'em?
It was Texas Hold'em was the game, yeah. So what I did that winter was I went down to Nevada and stayed in Tahoe, because I made some money playing poker, but I knew I didn't play that well. So I went down and into Nevada and played poker there for a few months and sort of learned actually how to play the game. I've always been a bit of a gambler. Anyway,
well, you got to be if you're in mining. At the end of the day,
yeah,
come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why. So it was a good education for the business I'm in right now. But and so I did that for a few years. I went down to the Caribbean and played poker down there. Played poker in England. So
you're living the life, man.
I was living the life. It was great.
In the 70s, you were listening to some Zeppelin.
That's right. Sitting down on the beaches of the Caribbean, playing poker at night, and
Yeah.
But I also started prospecting a little bit, or reading about prospecting. So, but then I went on a job with a guy that I worked for, Morley. So I still went in. I still loved the work of heading out to the mountains and staking claims.
Yeah.
You're out there by yourself all day with an axe in your hand, walking straight lines. It was just fantastic work. So we went on a job in Ross River, and we got snowed in. We couldn't get out of it, so we sat in the back of the truck, me, Mike, and Morley, another guy, and played poker. And at the end of the when we finally got the helicopter in the next day, Morley owed me $1,500. I was never really going to go after him for the money. It's a friendly poker game, right?
Okay.
But he said to me, how about I've got these claims in the Wheaton Valley. Why don't you just take 50% of this claim block I got for the money I owe you? And I said, sure, that sounds good. I'll do that. So tell me the story. But there was a company called Omni Resources in the Wheaton Valley. So we did a bit of work on the ground. I think we ran a VLF survey, which is just kind of some form of geophysics.
And you own 50% of it?
I own 50% of the claims, and then so we sold those in the fall. We did the work and then sold them to Ernie Bergvinson for $25,000 and 25,000 shares. So I just parlayed my $1,500 into, like 50,000. Well, half of that, $25,000.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And some shares. So I said, forget poker.
So
that was my start in mineral exploration, basically.
That's an amazing story, and I just want to say thanks to Adam for he told me to ask you about the poker story, and
Okay,
or it could have been Amber, but thank you very much for that. The only other poker story I've heard that's similar to that is I met a guy in New Brunswick. I was at a restaurant, and we're like people out east. They're very they when they say how's your day going, they more like want to hear your life story. And so he told me his life story, and he actually won his a vacation home in a poker game. So that's
There you go.
those are
There
the
you
two
go.
poker stories I'll be able to tell.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into the company now. Thank you
Okay.
so how did you come across this asset, and how did you found Rackla?
Okay, so Rackla was founded some years ago on a different Yukon play. I had a company called Radius, still have a company called Radius that's exploring in Latin America.
Yep.
We have a couple of great joint ventures down there, but some years ago there was a big discovery in the Yukon. Somebody found Carlin-style mineralization, sediment hosted in the Yukon Territory.
Okay.
A company called Attack. And I knew a geo that worked up there, Roger Holstein, and he had some great ideas along the same belt. So we staked the ground that he recommended, and he came in to run the company. And so I spun it out from Radius into a company that I called Rackla, because that's what the belt was called.
Right, makes sense.
So we did that.
Good branding, my friend.
Yeah, good branding. So good marketing branding for
Yeah.
sure. So anyway, we joint ventured those companies out to various players, and they were drilled and killed. It didn't work out.
Okay.
So Rackla was kind of inactive. I kept some claims on one project in the Yukon that I was trying to permit, but we were never successful getting the permits in place. It was in a bit of a delicate area. And then last year, I saw the results of a company called Snowline in a belt I've worked in previously, which was when I lived in Dawson City. There was the Tombstone intrusive suite cuts through Dawson City. And so I knew a bit about this kind of mineral deposits, and I saw Snowline's results and decided I should go back in Yukon and take a look at the geology. This belt goes all the way from Alaska, cuts all the way through the Yukon and goes into the Northwest Territories.
Wow.
Snowline's discovery was on the eastern side of this belt. It's called the Tombstone Gold Belt. Historically, the eastern side of the belt had been supposed to be tungsten rich and gold poor, but Snowline's results contradicted that. There's some fantastic results, much higher grade than many of the other tombstone hosted mineral deposits.
Didn't they have one of the best drill holes on record in the last couple of years?
A couple of years, yeah. They cut some, 300 meters of a few grams, but several holes in that range. So I think they're going to have a very significant discovery there.
Okay.
So I pulled up all my old records on the belt and all the available geochemistry, and saw that as the belt crossed into the Northwest Territories, number one, there's a road where the belt crosses the border. There's also a road crossing the belt there called the North Canal, the only road in that part of the world. So road access. Good geology, the same kind of intrusive rocks, and the geochemistry in the area indicated that it wasn't gold poor and tungsten rich. Just the opposite. There were some great gold samples from the original geochem. So I was at a conference in Boca Raton that was run by Rick.
Oh yeah.
Rule, right? So I left the conference 2 days later, flew up to Vancouver, and then jumped up to Yukon and went and staked a bunch of ground in the belt on these exciting targets.
Wow.
And as I was doing that, there was some other ground in the area that was held by other exploration companies that were kind of inactive.
Yep.
In fact, they didn't even know they had the ground, some of them, because it's a bit of a long story, but they held the ground. They thought it lapsed. So I acquired the ground from them, and then there was one very exciting project that was worked on by Newmont in 2017 to 2019. When they did the work on the property, they'd focused all their efforts on this same Carlin-style mineralization that Rackla was formed on some years before that.
Right.
They didn't look inside the intrusive at all.
So they didn't really attack it properly.
They didn't attack it properly, no.
Okay.
So they did a lot of, they did some airborne, they did a huge Blake survey, identified the anomaly, huge soil survey, airborne geophysics, and they drilled 7 holes. And on the holes they drilled, there's some great anomalies, but they drilled the holes through the sediments, and every time the intrusive rocks, they stopped. When the results came in, the only gold they got was in the intrusive rocks. So they were, they went in for a specific target and stayed fixed on that.
But now, didn't they merge?
No, it was so that Newmont was in a joint venture with a junior company who's now called Origin Royalties.
Oh,
and
okay.
so basically Newmont bought Goldcorp, and when they acquired Goldcorp, they kind of dropped all their other Yukon players.
That's right. Yeah.
So this ground became available. It reverted to Origin royalties, and I made a deal with Origin where I have the right to purchase 100% for $350,000.
So what kind of work have you done on the property so far?
So far, we've just acquired it. I've been to the property, walked around, took a look at the anomalies I identified.
Yeah.
Recompiled all the data from the work that Newmont and Origin did, and it's really quite a gift to us, because all the soils, all the rocks, all the stream beds, it all indicates that this is an intrusive hosted discovery, not a Carlin style discovery.
Yeah,
it's got the right signature, gold, bismuth, telluride, which is the signature of these deposits.
Okay.
So it's totally untested.
The plan now for this probably get up there in May.
Yeah, probably get up there in May. Be able to get the camp in place by then. So I think we'll be drilling by late June.
Late June, and how much money are you going to spend this year on it?
Well, the company's got about $4.5 million. We'll do that first drill program with that, and hopefully with some success, go back to the market to raise some money to continue drilling.
Yes, that would be the plan.
That would be the plan. So we have enough. What we need to do is, beside the drill program on the Astro target, we have several other areas that have a very attractive geochemistry as well. They haven't been worked up as much as the Astro has. But to make discoveries, you got to get boots on the ground, right?
Sure.
These intrusive rocks, they look very boring. When the intrusives come in, they alter all the rocks around, so you get these huge gossinous ridges and mountains all the way around the intrusive body itself. But the intrusive rocks look grey and boring.
Yeah.
You see Snowline's core, it looks grey and boring, but it runs 2 to 3 grams over broad intervals.
Yeah.
So we got to get boots on the ground, prospecting inside those intrusives.
So let's talk about the company structure at this point. How much of it do you own?
So between myself and associates of mine that usually go with me on most of the companies I run, we probably own in the region of 60%.
60?
Yeah,
Jeez.
60.
Wow.
And we finance with Crescat. So Crescat, I don't know if you know much about the Snowline, but they were backed by Crescat, which is a U.S. brokerage house.
They know how to market a story.
They know how to market a story.
Yeah.
So I presented Crescat to Quinton, their geologist.
Quinton Henning?
Quinton Henning.
Yeah.
He loved the story. He loves the geochemistry. He understands we're in the right rocks in the right place with very strong gold numbers. So he said we would like to back you. So
wow.
they came
that's
in.
That's a thing for people need to research Crescat, because they definitely know how to promote and market a story.
They do, and they put their money. They put their money where their mouth is as well.
Yeah,
they do themselves. They're an excellent company.
No, it means something to me. If I hear they're in on a deal, it's good. So that's definitely a good thing.
And myself and the people coming with me do. I mean, I'm an explorationist. I've had quite a bit of success over the years. I've found gold deposits in several countries. If I've been lucky, I work hard. But I know what it takes. You got to get boots on the ground. You got to get people hiking up the hills and
you're not
just thinking.
You need to be in a celebrity poker game though, right? Because you've had some wins
I've had some wins.
You've been a winner there, but you got a story, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many shares are out?
There is 58 million shares out, trading at about 30 cents. 4.5 million cash.
What other shareholders are in other than those close people? Like you got Crescat in there, but any other institutions? Or
no institutions came
retail?
in. Just retail. I mean, Crescat brought in some of their close associates as well. Like I got several phone calls from people that follow Crescat.
Yeah, that's good.
So they came in as well.
Well, that's fantastic. Okay, it's definitely, this is one of the speculative opportunities for our listeners. Sorry, I should say our community. You've got your game plan. You've reassessed the property. You think they went at it wrong. You've got a history of success. It's financed. So where do you want to leave it off here? I mean, at the end of the day.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's watch the results. I mean, it's a high risk business. Like I said, I'm a gambler.
Yeah.
But this is a great gamble, right?
But if you want to play a little bit of poker and you want to play a little bit of speculative drill, junior mining, then this is the type of situation you look for. And
we put the 80%, 90% of the money goes into the ground, which is what where it needs to go if you're going to make a discovery.
Yeah.
right?
So, how much money have you put into this deal?
So over the last few years in Rackla, I probably put in $2 or $3 million.
I asked that question for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting your money where your mouth is.
I put yeah, exactly. And
Well-
that's why people follow me for that. But they know. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, not every play I make is a success.
That's
but
right, but
Every play I make,
You're losing with them,
I'm losing with
or
them.
you're winning with them.
Exactly.
And then it's easy to finance your next journey, especially if you win.
Yeah, especially if you win. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm pulling up here where you need to go, or in and around. But
Yeah, no, this is very close enough.
where do you want to leave this? I mean, I don't really. There's not much else to cover.
No, I don't
but-
think so. I think it's a great. It was really a very good target, an excellent target. We have a big land position outside that in this belt, and it is unprospected. We need to get boots on the ground.
Yeah,
that's what it
get
takes.
some work done.
To get some work done. People have not walked these hills.
Well,
and that's what it takes to do.
Simon,
right?
this has been one of my favorite interviews.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
You're a fun guy. I wish you nothing but success up there on the drill. Maybe we can follow up with you, later on in the summer or in the fall.
Yeah, no,
when those
certainly
results-
in the springtime, as we start working on the ground, maybe we get the first couple of holes in. I'll give you a call.
Absolutely. Signing
right.
off, and thank you very much.
Okay, no, thank you.